Is your base full of problems? Your dupes got you down? Well, if I got some mods that'll pump your problems away. In this video here, we're going to be taking a look at several pump and pump-related mods that are going to allow you to move liquids and gases throughout your base very, very efficiently. First up is Smart Pumps from Stefan over here. This contains 3 different buildings, the filtered gas pump, filtered liquid pump, and a vacuum pump right here. Very, very interesting. So where's a great scenario for this? Well, one great scenario for something like this filtered gas pump is when we have a mixed gas scenario. There's a lot of different things inside here. A little bit of sour gas, natural gas, chlorine. It's just that nasty bit at the bottom of the base. Now, normally I would have to run this through a gas filter like this, which costs extra power, right? That's an extra 120 watts. Ugh, and I don't really like to do that. Plus, I can only filter out one gas. The other way to do that is to kind of use a gas shutoff after a certain gas element sensor like this. There's another way of doing this with this kind of free, where you kind of create a gas loop. I've done a whole video on that. You can check it out in the top right here if you really care. Now, let's say you want to do all of that, but you don't want to build all that nasty equipment and end up just looping things around pointlessly. Well, that's where the filtered gas pump comes in. It does require refined metal rather than raw metal, and it does require something like plastic, so you kind of have to be a little bit farther into the game. But the advantage here is that it uses 240 watts and still moves the same amount of gas. And the most important bit here is that you can pick what type of gas it picks up. So in this example right here, I only want to pick up chlorine. Whereas if I wanted to filter out chlorine over here, I would have to do this sort of number. So you can see the difference of just how this works very simply by watching this. One pump on the right is going to grab all that chlorine, throw it down. The other one's kind of grabbing a mixed scenario, and you can see the carbon dioxide is getting picked up. Let's get some natural gas. It's much less efficient as compared to the filtered gas pump. So that's the advantage of that thing, and it's super awesome. I love it. And as you can see, once that chlorine has kind of been moved out of the area there, it says there's no more gas available, and it just shuts off. Very, very handy. So this is great, especially if you have a lot of farting dupes in your base. And as you can imagine, the filtered liquid pump does the exact same thing, just in liquid. Now, if you've ever found yourself with the need to pull a vacuum in an area, you've probably used a gas pump at one point or another. This is fairly typical in scenarios where you have something like a volcano and you really want to have a lot of control over the heat. However, you may have noticed at one point here, the amount of gas that can end up in an area can actually be very, very, very small. We're talking about like milligrams worth of gas. Alright, so how the vacuum pump seems to work as compared to something like a mini gas pump is that it's going to look for a larger area and make sure that it tries to always move 50 grams per second through the pipe, which isn't a whole lot of gas when compared to something like the gas pump. However, you will see that as the numbers get smaller, this pump is going to be far more efficient. So let's take a look at the gas overlay here. We've got 500 grams in each tile right there, and we're trying to pull a vacuum. So you can see the amount of gas that's being pulled in here. You can see that it is 500 grams, so that's doing pretty good. 50 grams, 50 grams, not bad. All right, now that it's run quite a bit more, you can see that the pump over here on the left is down to like milligrams in some areas and even smaller than that. So it is using 250 watts, but it's only moving, look at that, teeny tiny amounts of gas. Whereas we're still seeing 50 grams per second here, we're still seeing 50 over there. That's just because this stuff is trying to catch up. But we'll see here as the time moves on what happens. We have a little bit of a vacuum over here on the left. It's still trying to pull this very, very small amount of gas into the pipe. It's just using so much energy. And then, it's still not done. But the vacuum pump is complete. You saw how it kind of was really effective at just pulling in the rest of that gas. I'm not sure what's going on there with the mod, but you can see that it does indeed pull a vacuum much better than the other 2 pumps available. So that's really handy for that niche need, which is pulling a vacuum. However, you may have already noticed that there's something a little bit different here. What is this high pressure gas wall vent? Now this brings us to our next mod, Wall Pumps and Vents by Fair. Now this mod has been around for a long time and it is a real beaut and I love to use it. When squares are in short supply, these are the go-to choice. Now these little wall pumps and vents can fit into all the tight places and take care of your most critical needs, such as moving liquid or moving gas like this. I like to use it to kind of filter out gas here and there, or to move liquids, or to kind of, I don't know, have unique solutions like this right there. How cool is that? Another example in this base alone is I've used a liquid wall pump right here in order to take in the crude oil and throw it into the pipe. They're super handy. Here's a couple more examples. I have a gas wall vent right here, and carbon dioxide likes to find its way through here and introduce itself to these little oxyferns. pretty handy, and it doesn't take up any extra space, so it's real nice and clean. Polluted oxygen comes out of this vent here, finds its way through these very small air filters, and turns itself into oxygen. You can find the wall vents under some basic research, however the wall pumps are a little bit more into the advanced section here. The gas wall pump will set you back some refined metals and cost you 120 watts for 200 grams per second. So it's not quite as efficient as everything else, but you do save that precious space. You have two different options for the gas vents, normal and high pressure. You have a standard liquid vent, and then the liquid wall pump here, again, costs from refined metals, moves 4 kilograms per second for 120 watts. Now you may have seen a thing in my base that looks a lot like these liquid wall pumps, but they are not wall pumps. Matter of fact, there's something a little bit different. So what these are drains by Skyrunner over here. In case you have a problem with liquid every now and then, things of dripping onto the ground and you kind of need to protect certain areas, well, that's the perfect use for a drain over here. A drain only moves 100 grams per second, but doesn't cost you any power. So in this situation right here, we do have some water, and if we were to empty that, we wouldn't want that to get on our ice box up here, or where we're doing all of our food storage. So a drain kind of allows you an easy way to get some liquid into the pipe right there and move it out of the way. Again, it doesn't move very much, very quickly, and you kind of do have to tee it up like this if you want to make use of more of them. So one location where these drains might come in handy is right here where we have some atmosuit docks like this. You might end up with a dupe that gets stuck out there in space behind some regolith, and they unfortunately wet their pants while they're out there. And then on their way back, they dump their atmosuit out on the ground and let loose a bunch of polluted water. Well, when that happens, at least you have these drains here, and that can save you some mopping errands. Because as you can see, this liquid spreads out and then ends up in the pipe like this, and then heads on over here to go into, well, a canister filler in this example, which is another modded piece of equipment, which Dreco seems to be standing on. Dude, I'm trying to make a video here. The last thing about this mod is it does allow you to configure the option to allow liquid to move past it like it's a mesh tile, or to have it kind of go down and stop inside of the tile itself, so that you don't need to have tiles below it in order to, keep the liquid there. It's a handy little mod, and even though it doesn't require power, it doesn't move that much liquid. So I think it's up to you to use however you wish, and I like it because it just kind of saves me from having to do those annoying little mopping errands every now and then. Now you notice this over here. This is the liquid canister filler. That looks like a unique piece of equipment. And it is. This mod is made by A Squared over here, and it's a handy little mod to install. Let me tell you what, this over here allows you to fill up bottles inside of the liquid canister here, and then pull them out for all sorts of things. So if I am supplying something like water over here to this canister filler, I then have a spot to pick up water from in its bottled form. So in many ways, it's just like the pitcher pump, except for it has an internal capacity, and it just kind of fills up. So you can see inside of here, we've got some polluted water. We have 66 kilograms of that, and then we have some water over here that's also filling up. Now, if I click empty storage, you can see that, hey, we're going to get those bottles out. Awesome, just like that. And again, we can use those bottles for everything inside of our base. I really, really like to use this and put it right next to my research stations here. That gives me a quick access to a lot of water so that I can get through my research quickly. Not only that, put it right next to the place where you're doing your cooking. In case you're doing lice loaf or something like that and you need a lot of water, boom, you don't have to run and get it. If you have this piece of equipment researched and you got a pump that runs to it, then you don't have to do the running errand all the way over to wherever your water's stored up and then suck it up and then run it all the way back. However, as you can imagine, the canister filler does require a little bit of research over here. It is just a basic research piece of equipment for the liquid. However, there is a gas version that's included that does the exact same thing, and that requires a little bit more advanced research to unlock. Now in my base here, I'm using the liquid canister filler and another advanced little feature that it has, which is the enable auto drop here. So what I'm using this for is actually a liquid overflow system, and it just keeps opening up the little door right there and automatically dropping all of this polluted water on the ground, which I'm using to make lots of oxygen. However, you can do the exact same thing for gas over here if you happen to have too much of that. And in this case, you can build up a warehouse of bottled oxygen or something like that. Pretty handy. Now there's another thing that's included in this mod here, and that is a conveyor canister loader. Because sometimes we end up with liquid down here, our sweepies sweep it up, but we have no way of unloading that. Alright, so you can see here my little sweepy bot has delivered all sorts of things, but it's also included water right there. So you can see that the auto sweeper is going to load up the traditional conveyor loader with all of the solids right here. But as it works through all of that, it will run into a problem where it has some liquid, and it doesn't have anything to do with that. But that's where that conveyor canister loader comes in handy, because that allows you to unload liquids and put them onto the rail. So just like that, there goes a little bit of crude oil, and there goes a little bit of water. Super handy. I love that mod. Beautiful. However, if you need to unload things, there's another mod that'll help you kind of get things into pipes without all of the fuss. As I was mentioning up here, I have a liquid wall pump up there, and then like a bottle emptier that you can use to empty into a thing, and then you gotta run some power in order to get it from one spot into the pipe. What if you could just hook up a bottle emptier to the pipe? Wow! Say hello to the fluid shipping mod over here. From Radiant Dreamer and Manchki. Simple little building with a simple little purpose that is super handy. So I have a lot of bottles that are just laying around my base and I need to get rid of them. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and take some water and I'm going to put it into this little building called the bottle inserter. Set it to a nice high priority and let all my dupes run around and sweep that stuff up. Over here, I have a need to get rid of some polluted water. So using my sage-like plumbing skills, I'm going to go ahead and connect it just like this to give it priority, and there we go. We'll get rid of all of our polluted water, just like that. Set that to a nice high priority. We should see that dupes are going to run around and sweep up liquid for us and then insert it into the pipe without all of this fuss. All right, so we can see here that we have a little bit of water and it's flowing into the pipe and then flowing all the way over here. In this case, it's going straight to the canister filler, so well, I might want to set that to sweep only. But hey, check it out. That works pretty sweet, doesn't it? The bottle inserter does require some advanced research, but not too much. Set one of those up for each type of liquid and boom, you have yourselves a way to sweep up any liquid inside of your base. Absolutely awesome. Now for this next mod, let me just say, I'm a big fan of it. Because that's right, this mod here from Test 447 is the fan tile blocks. A lot like the wall pumps and wall vents, except for it's focused on moving a gas or a liquid from one side of the wall to the other side. Now these fans come in 5 different flavors. You have your standard fan block, you have your high pressure fan block, and then you have your compressor fan block. And you also have the liquid counterparts here, which is the turbine block and the compressor one. And as you can see, what this is doing here is it's drawing up gas from down below and then pushing it above it. So essentially all this is doing is it goes in one side, you can see the overlay right here, and then pushes it out the other side. So it's as if there's a input vent over here and an output vent right there. Super handy. Isn't that right, Vox Headroom? Loves it. So as you can imagine, this is very, very useful for kind of moving gas throughout your base. And we had oxygen up here, and now I'm drawing all of this stuff up. So if you kind of run it a little bit fast, you can see that it does move a fair amount of stuff like this. Now, they work best when they're in the same type of gas, because as you can imagine, the input and the output, they kind of argue a little bit when you don't have the same gas around. But when you do kind of have it in a pure gas situation, you can see that they run uninterrupted. And yes, you heard right when I said a compressor fan block. So if you're a fan of dipping your vents in a little bit of liquid, or you like setting up some doors to make a super compressor, well, the compressor fan block has got you covered. Look at this bad boy run. Rather than overpressuring at the standard 20 kilograms per tile that you would have with the high pressure fan block down here, this bad boy can just keep running all day, forever. And then inside of there, you can put a pump and obviously extract it when you need to. So this is one way to kind of use a little bit of power in order to compress gas infinitely. Now, as you can imagine, the standard one here overpressurizes at 2 kilograms. So it won't pop your duplicant's eardrums, and it is very safe to use. It costs 60 watts to run. However, the high pressure fan block over here will overpressure at 20 kilograms per tile right there. Again, using up 60 watts per second. The compressor fan block just kind of gets rid of that whole overpressure thing. However, it does cost 120 watts. All right, so you can see here the difference between these two liquid pumps. The turbine block on the right does overpressure at 1,000 kilograms per tile right there. So it doesn't really work in order to elevate water inside of a column like this, because as you move up in a column of water, the pressure will actually decrease near the top and increase at the bottom right there. You see how that's over 1,000. So something like the standard turbine block is not enough in order to elevate liquid if you're trying to bring a puddle or a pool from one spot low to a higher spot without using any sort of pipes to do that. However, the compressor turbine block over here is capable of actually doing that because it doesn't overpressure. You can also use it to infinitely store liquid if that's what you're into. Because, you know, just nuke physics. Yeah, baby. Now you can see in my base here how I'm using the high pressure fan blocks here to pull a low pressure zone right down here where I have all of these polluted water bottles down there. What that is doing is it's giving off a lot of polluted oxygen, converting it into oxygen, and then blowing that into my base, where it then is moving throughout my base and kind of pressurizing everything that you see here. The one problem I do have is that I might end up building up a little bit too much pressure and popping some eardrums. However, I do have some automation to kind of stop that. But it just goes to show how differently you can play the game if you want to use something like the fan blocks instead of pumping everything through the pipes. Because unlike the pipes, the amount that you can move through here is really just more about area, rather than how much gas you can shove into a pipe. But what if you wanted to shove more gas into a pipe? Well, say hello to the high pressure mod by Rainbow Design over here. This massively increases the amount of gas and liquid you can throw into a pipe. That right there is 40 kilograms per section of pipe. And then for liquid, 400 kilograms per tile. Oh, that is beautiful. If only the dots were like proportional to the size, there'd just be like a giant ball right here. Yes, that is a lot of liquid inside of the pipes, but yeah, baby, you can move a lot of stuff. Who even needs tanks when you have the high pressure mod? But how in the world do you fill something like that? Well, luckily there are 2 more pumps to solve your needs. We have the pressure gas pump and the pressure liquid pump here. These bad boys are made of steel. And as you can see here, they require some advanced research, but the advantage of these over here is that they can move a lot more gas and so much more liquid. So you can see here the pressure gas pump. Oh my gosh. So you can see here the pressure gas pump is moving, well, so much that it actually can't even consume it all. There's not enough gas. It's pulled a massive vacuum. Holy moly! This thing is powerful. I love it. It's actually capable of moving 10 kilograms per second. I guess I'm going to have to put it up here because no other place will do. A little bit of carbon dioxide. Oh yes, here comes the oxygen. What? I didn't even know that gas was there. 80 kilograms, 500 grams, 1,000, 22 kilograms. Holy Look at this thing pump. What? Is this thing actually pulling in oxygen from outside of this area? I think it is. Holy moly. Okay, so that's moving a ton of oxygen. Look at that, 10 kilograms each time. And then all of a sudden it grabs some carbon dioxide. I actually don't know where it's pulling that from. I'm guessing its pickup range is beyond our mortal minds at this point. And the amount of liquid that this liquid pump will move over here is 200 kilograms per second. Oh, let me refill the tank here. I only looked away for a moment. All right, there we go. Boom. That is a full liquid bottle every second. If you really want to move some liquid, this is the pump you use. Now, if only this thing was actually twice the size of itself right now, like these glorious batteries over here, then it would be perfect. But if you have a need to move a whole lot of stuff, well, then we got a couple of pumps that can do that. But apparently, rest in peace your liquid storage tanks, because you can store even more in your pipes. Okay. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and replace this pump right here. Weak, nasty pump that it is, with the pressure liquid pump. Oh, yes. Show me that power. Watch this liquid. It's just gonna drop like crazy, isn't it? We'll speed it up. Okay, well, these things take a lot of power. Unfortunately, my poor base is running out of power. But yes, we've dropped this in just a matter of seconds now. Oh, and we filled that reservoir in like 2 milliseconds. So I guess we need bigger tanks too. A couple other mods that work well with this is show building ranges over here by Stefan. This is absolutely awesome when it comes to kind of figuring out why this thing might have been pulling something besides oxygen here. You can see that it has a massive consumption area, well beyond what we have right there. It's actually going through that compressor fan block right there. And when you click on this, you can see the area that it's now affecting, or in this case, you have the little gas block right there, or various pumps, and you can just kind of see where its operating range is. So it's a pretty handy little mod. Another mod here from Egolus6C is a balanced gas pump consumption right here, kind of reworking how much power the pumps use and the mini pumps use in the filter, and also kind of upgrading mini pumps here to kind of use different materials to alter the amount of temperature and whatnot that they can withstand, and the amount of power that it consumes. And that's from Chromium Boy. So there you have it, guys. So there you have it, my fellow duplicants. Many different mods to pump your problems away. If you got a punny title and some different mods you want me to check out, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. If this looks like the channel for you, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button. As always, stay safe, stay awesome, and I'll see you again next time. Peace. Brothgar out.